Hello, everyone, and welcome into the College Football Playoff Mega Show reaction show right here at Beyond the Big Ten. You could follow us at Beyond the Big Ten wherever you get your socials on Instagram or Twitter. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm Joey Christopolus. We have a fantastic panel to talk about the College Football Playoff Final Four, what it means, what they got right, what they possibly got wrong. But let's first bring in our panel. He is former defensive back, Wisconsin Badgers great. You can follow him at _SDS8. It's Sojourn Shelton. What's up, Soj?
How y'all doing, man? Pleasure to be on here with you guys, talk some ball. It's a lot to talk about, man, with this playoff thing, so let's get to it.
Let's do it. Let's keep it up north real quick. Let's go to the monster in the middle here. He's former defensive lineman, Wisconsin Badgers great himself. Yeah. You can follow him at dubherring45, 2 B's, 2 R's. It's Warren Herring. What's up, Warren?
What's good? Like he said, excited to talk to y'all boys. Talk football. What we do best.
That's what we do best. We're going to cut it up right here. And next, coming up here, you can follow him at sweetfeet_white on Twitter or at sweetfeet on IG. He's 3-time Super Bowl champion. It's James White. What's up, James?
What's going on, y'all? I'm excited to talk about this playoff. I'm sure there's a lot of different opinions in here. Just let y'all know they got it wrong.
No doubt. Big facts. Big facts.
Yeah. We're about to get into it, and what's so exciting is I know all of your Final Fours, and none of them are the same. Let's bring in our other half here. These are the Testudos and Touchdowns pods. This is our Maryland pod right here. They're also going bowling. Let's talk to our former Big Ten tackles leader in 2018. He's Tre Watson himself. What's up, Tre?
What's up, man? How you doing? Sounds like we got a lot to talk about.
We're going to get into it right now. And then finally, rounding out the lineup right now, he's former Maryland running back. He's entrepreneur. He's bodybuilder himself. It's Ikechukwu Ogwuegbu. Excuse me. Sorry, Ike. What's up, Ike? How you doing, man?
Hey, I said we ain't done yet. Let's get it rolling.
So here we go, guys. The Final Four is out. It is official. It is Michigan at 1, Washington at 2, Texas at 3, and in, I guess, somewhat of a shocker, Alabama SEC representing sliding into 4 right now. We're going to get all of your takes right now. But, James, I want to throw it to you first, man. I know your Final Four. You can reveal your Final Four if you want. Let's start it easy. Let's start it simple. Did the College Playoff Committee get this Final Four right?
No, they got it wrong. It's one of those years where it's truly a toss-up. Who could be in this playoff? I feel like anybody in the top 10 very well can win a national championship. Then they got number 1 right. I roll with Michigan. You know, they play great defense offensively. They can pass and run, although their pass has been very inconsistent. Number 2, I'm going to go with Washington. Washington, undefeated, beat Oregon twice. Offense explosive, defense a little questionable. They showed up on Saturday night, though. They held down an Oregon team that could play physical. Number 3, I'm rolling with Florida State. They're the other undefeated team, and I understand that's question marks because they don't have their starting quarterback and all that, but going undefeated is hard in college football, no matter what conference you in, especially if you're in a Power 5 conference. And I understand the committee talking about they don't have their starting quarterback. That's the reason they're not there. Like we saw with Ohio State, unfortunately against, our Wisconsin Badgers, that he showed up in the game and, threw the ball all over the place, and they had other talent backup quarterback can do. And then number 4, I'm going with Texas. Texas, they beat the SEC champions in Alabama on the road in their house. And they do have a loss as well, but they came out, they got going the rest of the season, so I'm rolling with Texas as my number 4.
Tre, hop in on this one here. Reveal your Final Four, too, as well. You do not have an SEC team in there, too, as well. And just talk a little bit about Florida State, what that university's going through right now when they get locked out.
Yeah, to be honest, I had the same rankings as James. Michigan 1, Washington 2, Florida State 3, and Texas 4. And he laid it out pretty good. I really don't think it's that hard, man. We got Power 5 because they're the Power 5. Those are the 5 conferences we respect as being the elites of the elite. We had 3 undefeated conference champions. 1, 2, 3. Like, what we doing here? Number 4, like he said, Texas beat Bama in head-to-head. They were both 12-1 conference champions. How hard is it? Talking about quarterbacks and this and that, and the committee added a little rule in there at the end that said we can decide if a team lost a player or a coach, and that factors into our decision. Then why are we playing football games? What are we doing? Oregon was 10-point favorite over Washington in the playoff game or the conference championship game after Washington beat Oregon in the regular season. But we're just gonna decide before the game. Okay, yeah, they would beat them. They're better than them. They earn the spot. This whole earned versus deserved thing or best teams, it's a waste of time. You play the
He's
games
so
to play the
upset he started
games. A
freezing.
team won. I don't want to go on all day, but it really ain't that hard, man. Like, these fools just wasted our time with this system.
You rolling to that right in a great point.
I know, literally.
And I'm going to roll forward. Ike, pick it up right here, too, as well. Reveal your top 4 as well. And just give us a little bit of your take, too, as well, of like why Florida State's not in it.
All right, I'm a little unconventional with my picks. I like to dwell on the past a little bit. So I got Michigan at 1. I got Washington at 2. I got Texas in there, I think, as well, and then I got the Terps at 4. Just because, if you look back in history, listen. There's a method to my madness.
Respect.
If you look back in history, a few years ago, we beat Texas back-to-back years. So I just think that automatically gives us the vibe to get up in there twice. At home and away. So that just gives us a reasoning why we need to be in the playoff, just to spice things up. You never know what can happen. I feel like that's the way to go. So I know nobody agree with me, but I got my reasons.
Well, when you start looking up the committee bylaws and you start looking into when they talk about subjectivity, you're nailing it right there. Exactly the one right there. Real quick,
I'm
Soj,
sure
man,
everybody got constituents. You feel me?
I got it. So look, it's time. We got to tag Sojourn on this one right here because you do have the SC teams. You got Georgia. You got Alabama also in there right now. I want to set you up, man. Make your case, man. Tell us a little bit why those guys deserve to be in the Final Four.
Who, Georgia and Bama?
Yeah, Georgia and Bama.
Yeah, I mean, bro, we just gotta be real with ourselves. Georgia, 2-time back-to-back champ, haven't lost a game in 2.5 years. They lost that game to Bama in the SEC championship, and Bama over the process of the season has just gotten better. Right? We all play college football in here. We know coming out of camp, getting into games, you kind of start off, a little bit slow, and as the season progresses, you get better. And I think that's where they had to slip up against Texas at earlier in the year. But as the year went on, if you watch college football, the product that Bama has put out has continuously got better. I know they did struggle in 2 games against USF and Auburn. But we've all been in games where you just had to get out of it. And that Auburn game is a rivalry game. So, just them being in that situation and them getting out of it and then getting to the SEC championship and beating the number 1 team, that's been the number 1 team for a long time. They both deserve to be in there. And I think when we talk about this whole process, are we trying to get the best 4 teams in college football in the playoffs, or are we trying to get the most deserving teams? Now, if we say deserving, I got to go Florida State, right? Undefeated in the Power 5 conference, which their strength of schedule was, if we're going to be real, their strength of schedule was trash. They literally played nobody. They beat LSU, which I think everybody thought was going to be better than what they put out this year, but 9-3 LSU, not a top team in the SEC this year, which they normally have been. But outside of that, they haven't played anybody. And then also losing your starting quarterback. That team was good with Jordan Travis there. I will give them that. But after the loss of that, going to Gainesville and winning in a convincing way, but struggling. I think the quarterback only threw for 100 and something yards. And then the following week, getting into that ACC championship game, and you throw for 55 yards. And we're sitting here trying to convince ourselves that this team is going to go into the playoffs and beat a Michigan or a Texas or a Bama or whoever at the time we were thinking was going to make the playoffs. So for me, I'm not into, I'm a college football fan and I love to watch football. And the product we got last year from TCU when they got to the championship was a 65-7 national championship. Like, I legit remember watching that game upset. And I think the committee was put in a position where they can't have that again this year. Now, it's always going to be controversy, but I think moving forward is going to be helpful that 12 teams are going to now be in there, because now, right, we all play ball. We know that, week to week, anything can happen, right? You might have a game where a Florida State come in and they beat a Bama, and, we'll get a chance to see that. But I just think right now, with the history of everything that happened last year in the national championship and how upset people were, and then, just coming into this year with FSU not having their starting quarterback, they had to put Bama in there. So that's just my case. I just think the two I honestly think Georgia, if we really look at it, I think Georgia literally, in my opinion, beats all three of those teams that made the playoffs. You get what I'm saying? So, and then Bama, Michigan, Washington. It's a lot we can go into, man, and a lot of reasons I feel the way I do feel. But I'm gonna let other guys, speak, and then I'm gonna get into it a little bit more.
Yeah, we're going to open it up, and we're going to dive deep into it. But, Warren, I want to get your take on this because, Soj, I do think that you're bringing up a really interesting point with TCU. And when we talk about the committee, look, I'm the only non-football player here, right? So, I may be the only, relation to the committee. Them worrying about the entertainment value, the style points, and the offense. So, Warren, my question for you is reveal what your top 4 is. And then on top of that, man, I want you to weigh in, too. When you've got a team like Florida State that beats a high-powered Louisville offense 16-6, and I think that there's a lot of people out there like me that never played the game are saying, well, it wasn't pretty enough or there wasn't style points. As a defensive lineman, that's got to piss you off because that was a pretty nice win from the defensive side of the ball, right?
Facts. Yeah, for sure. I'm going to keep this brief. If I'm FSU, I'm boycotting and I ain't playing the ball game. Screw that. They can kiss my butt. But anyway, that's just me. We can talk about that later. But my top 4, very similar to the other guys, except for Ike, because he drinking on something. But
sipping on that, yeah.
But I got Michigan. Obviously, you've seen what Michigan has done all year being undefeated. They're great. Washington has played great, proven themselves. My 3, I got Florida State. I think being a Power 5 conference, and that's what we talk about, is being a Power 5 team. I look back at, me and a couple of guys were talking about it earlier. I related to, for example, Clemson. Obviously, Clemson was great. They won a national championship, but you're talking about coming out of that same conference, playing the same teams that ain't great, going undefeated. We can name teams in that conference that year that weren't that great. I think the best team was maybe North Carolina, but they still made it, putting up all the numbers. They make it and end up winning a national championship, right? Again, I get it, Breeze. I'm just saying you got another team coming out of the ACC that's playing the same teams.
But when you say that, and not to cut you off, when you say that, literally that year that you're talking about, that Deshaun Watson went to Tampa and beat Alabama. That same Florida State team, which was good, ended up playing Michigan in the Orange Bowl and beating Michigan. So, as far as that year with teams, there were solid teams.
I get that, but Michigan also wasn't great that year. They were decent. They weren't great.
You got to be good to make a New Year's Six bowl game.
100%. 100%.
You got to be good to play in either the Cotton Bowl, Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, whatever it is. You got to be some type of. You got to have some type of good product. You get what I'm saying?
I don't disagree with you, but I still think Florida State has a good enough product to be in the top 4. Okay. Obviously, what they've done. And then, even with the freshman quarterback, get a man a chance. People get up to play on Saturdays, bro. You never know what somebody can do. He had one game this past week where he played, 2.5 quarters because the second string went down. And obviously, he didn't show exactly what he had, but he couldn't get into a rhythm. He's young, things like that. But they also have a great defense. That's the biggest thing.
55 yards.
Get a defense a chance. Okay, he threw for 55 yards, but they still have other playmakers. Get a defense a chance. They can I guarantee defense was top 5 in the country. I guarantee you they can shut down Alabama, a Georgia, a Michigan, a Washington. You give them a chance, but you got to give them a chance to do it.
The only drawback I have with that is I don't know. I know James was in Indy watching the Michigan game. I actually watched that Florida State game because I betted on it. And I took I was a little sick. I took Louisville plus 9.5, and they ended up losing.
And
that was literally my own loss.
But no touchdown.
But here's the thing, though, right? We sit there and we say how dominant FSU's defense. Their defense was not that dominant that game. Literally, the quarterback they blocked the field, they blocked the punt, and they had the ball within the 10-yard line. The first play, they throw a fade to the tight end. He literally catches it on his back, and as he's falling out, the ball popped out. The very next play, the quarterback threw a pick, right? So, don't get me wrong. They made the plays that they have to make, and, you always give them credit for that. But Louisville moved the ball on this defense. So, and to sit there and just say, their defense was this elite, and I understand when you look at the numbers, yes, they were, but their conference was terrible. When you're playing Wake Forest, who has 3 wins, your defense should go out there and strap stuff. When you're playing North Carolina, which was started extremely well and literally dwindled off the cliff at the end of the year, you should strap teams like that. You should strap Pitt. You should strap Virginia Tech. You get what I'm saying? So when we're talking about being in that conversation of 4 teams, I need to see you playing Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Bama playing Texas, Washington playing, Oregon. Like the Pac-12 this year put out a good product with numerous of teams that was in that conversation, and they had teams finish within the, the top 25. So that's my thing when it comes to like the stuff with Florida State and saying how good their defense is and how they would have been and give their quarterback a chance, because the stuff that we're seeing from them during the season was great and it was cool and all, but I don't want to see that in January when everything's on the line for a national championship.
I want to get Tre in on this one too. As a former linebacker, man, I want you to weigh in this defensive conversation, especially with FSU.
Honestly, man, so just to hit a couple of things that y'all have brought up. One, so you brought up that drive after they blocked the punt in the ACC championship game. That's great defense, bro. But the same linebacker. Okay, so you talking about they're not that great of a defense, and they made great defensive plays that you referenced. You just kind of didn't reference them as being great plays. 15 made 2 back-to-back amazing plays. The tight end didn't drop that ball on that fade. He popped it out. That's an incredible play. Then he turns around man-to-man and makes a pick. Now, I know Warren saw it, but 5 verse dominated that football game. 55, that big D tackle, took over a football game from the interior defensive line. That was a dominant defense, bro. And one thing that you're not really recognizing just in this conversation is, do you know who had a winning record against the SEC? The Atlantic Coastal Conference. Okay. 6-4. As much as you want to talk about LSU, they lost 3 games. They lost to Florida State. They lost to Bama. And I forget who the other one was. Probably Georgia. I think they played.
Might have been Ole Miss, I think.
Ole Miss is fire, too. Okay, so you talking about who beat them the worst? Probably Florida State. Florida State drugged them boys by 20+ in a neutral site game. So not at the crib. They went in Florida with a dude who hadn't played at quarterback, won. Like, come on. We can discredit things all day long, and we can talk about, they're not that good. Their strength of schedule, cool. That's a computerized number. That ain't really much of nothing. Their strength of record, which is an accumulation of the wins, losses, based on their record and the opposing team's record, their strength of record was 3rd, ahead of Texas, ahead of Bama. So now again, I can pick and choose any stat to fill any role or agenda I want to push. At the end of the day, bro, when you step on the field, what you got to do? You got to win the game. You got to win the game that you're playing. And if we're talking about strength of conference here and there, but in 2023, if we're looking at the totality of it, the SEC was not 2022 SEC. It wasn't 2021. It wasn't the SEC when all of us were playing. It just wasn't. You talking about a Georgia team that barely beat Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is terrible. They lost to Louisville. Who just beat Louisville the other day? Florida State. Georgia was losing to Auburn until like 7 minutes left in the game. Auburn lost by 25 points at home to New Mexico State. I don't know if you heard what I just said. New Mexico State. They paid them multiple $1 million to come in their house and lost as an SEC football team. And then Bama only won because of a prayer. And yes, give them credit. They won because of that prayer. They won. But if we're going to take into account that Florida State doesn't have a quarterback, we got to take into account that the SEC scraped by. Yes, Georgia won every game they played, but they did not look all that great all season long. Why were they number 1? Because they were the best team last year. So, okay, we can take into account where they started, but take into account how they played week in and week out, how their opponents play week in and week out. Their conference had a losing record against the conference we acting like it's trash. And you might be right. 99% of the time that is the case. You might be right that Florida State might have gone into the playoff and got whooped. But guess what? That ain't our job to pick the best game. That's not the playoff committee's job to pick the best game. You talking about best 4 teams? They don't get to pick the best 4 teams based on who they thought were not Vegas. The job of the committee is to walk in there and say who played the best this season, whose record reflects that they are team number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4. And the reality of it is, Florida State was easily in that bracket.
My thing is, and me, James, and Warren, we've kind of had this conversation, and I agree with you guys, but that's what a committee is for. If it was about simply just winning, like how it was before with the BCS system, we would not need a committee. They literally put a criteria out there for what they follow. And that, yes, winning your ball games that are put on your schedule is a part of it, right? Going undefeated, winning all the games that you play head to head, strength of schedule, coach it. I seen that last one that I don't know if it was there previously before, far as if it was there previously before, but whether it's players or coaches and how you look towards the end of the year. So listen, I'm in agreement with you guys. It is a snub, right? And that's why I said it's always going to be controversy until we get to that 12-team system, right? Where we get the guys in that we think are good. But when we're talking about getting the best teams in, me personally, I just don't think Florida State is better than those two teams. Now, that's just my opinion. I also feel like, as far as those coaches and those players, yes, it's bad, but I feel like everyone in here knows that if Florida State had to go head-to-head with Bama, you would pick Bama. If Florida State went head-to-head with Georgia, you would pick Georgia.
That ain't our job.
And that's okay.
Any given Sunday, any given Saturday, anytime you step on the field, anything can happen.
True. Yeah, you are bringing up a point that, there was a lot of rumors and some leaks out there that if Florida State and Michigan were going to play each other, it was going to be a 13.5-point spread in Michigan's favor. It kind of leads itself into that TCU argument again. So it's a little bit of maybe the committee got a little bit scared about putting them in the Final Four.
Did you see the reaction to them people when they found out they had to play Bama? Oh, because they know.
They're not that good.
Did you see the reaction? Like, come on, bro. We're all football players. You ain't supposed to put that on no social media when they announce you playing Bama. Everybody's going,
grabbing your chest.
Grabbing your chest. What the hell is that?
Alabama, Georgia, they are not that much better than any other team across the nation.
They're not.
You're giving them the benefit of the doubt based on last year, the year before that, the year before that. They are not the same team, man. And I understand what you were saying as far as TCU and all that last year, they getting beat 6-5-7. FSU can't be judged based off TCU. They're not the same team. You know what I mean? And the only way for us to ever find out if they can compete with those teams is put them in there. Then let's see what happens. I understand. I know there's a criteria and all of that, but for me, they fit the criteria aside from whatever the quarterback situation. But you just never know how kids are going to perform. Jalen Milroe can go out there and stink it up in the playoff.
And stink it up.
Then
You're
what?
right. 100%.
You know what I mean? So who knows how these dudes going to perform? I just think you got to give the team the opportunity, and that's why they're going to the 12-team playoff. That way, all these teams get in, and then hopefully everybody gets their fair shot and whatnot. I just think Florida State just got hosed in that situation. I think they are good enough to compete with all these teams, no matter if they got a backup quarterback or not. You just got to play the game a certain way. We all know that. Your starting cornerback go down, shit, we got to find a way to mask him in coverage, or he gonna have to hold his own on the outside. There's ways to to get around that, and teams do it. Just like Iowa in the Big Ten championship, they missing all these dudes, but they held their own against Michigan for the most part. Just their offense couldn't do shit whatsoever. But you just got to see what these teams could do in this situation. I just feel like they deserve opportunity.
I think y'all are making great points, but at the end of the day, these conferences and the college football player, they trying to pat their pockets. You know what I mean? They don't even want to risk the chance of a game being a 64 or whatever the score was. They want to make sure that buses going to be in seats and people going to be watching TV. And Bama is going to have people watching TV and in seats. You look at Texas. Everybody wants Texas to be good. Texas is just a school that's poised to, when they good, college football is good. And then you have Washington, who is rightfully the storyline for Washington. You got Penix, who's coming off of an injury, having a prolific season. And then you got Michigan with Harbaugh. Those are beautiful storylines that's going to make sure that people watch. The ratings go up. I promise you this college football playoff is going to break whatever record there's been, because there's so many captivating storylines and folks just trying to make money. And that's why there's a committee. I'm sure the committee, they have their individual beliefs and stuff like that. But then there's whoever is making the big decisions and who's signing the checks is hey, go ahead and do what you got to do, brother, because we need this bread type deal. So I feel you can throw whoever you want in it, and you can say it's not our job, but bills got to get paid and Christmas gifts got to get bought. So they did what they had to do.
Yeah, bills got to get paid, right? And we're moving to a 12-team next year. So obviously they want to just try and get it right, maybe for the ratings thing. Warren and Trey, I want to get you guys your take. Warren, you're going to go first on this one. You guys both have Texas in your top 4. Let's bring up Texas just really quick, a team that jumped from 7 all the way into the top 4. Now, I from my viewpoint, I want you guys to tell me wrong. Tell me why Texas deserves to be in the top 4, because it is a little mixed messaging, right? That you move Florida State out of the subjectivity of not having the quarterback around, but you're moving Texas in by virtue of beating Alabama. You can't have Alabama in if Texas beat them. So Warren, how do you make sense of that, and talk a little bit about how they leapfrogged everybody to get in the top 4?
For sure. I think you could tell by the way they played all year. I mean, they played great all year. They lost one game. They lost to Oklahoma. Is that right? Oklahoma finished top 25. So Oklahoma's not a bad team. And that's a rivalry game, as Sojourn was talking about earlier. It's one of those games. They did beat Alabama earlier in the year. Me personally, I would have Texas in there as my number 4 team just because they beat Bama. But we also got to remember they beat a Bama at the beginning of the year that wasn't for sure who their quarterback was, things like that. So would I have had them leapfrog a bunch of teams? Probably not. But if you're going to have Alabama in there, you have to have Texas in there because Texas did beat them regardless of what happened at that time from a roster standpoint, who was down, whatever. They won. It is what it is. That's what happened on the field. Jalen Milroe also played that game. Again, wasn't another one of his best games, things like that. Whoever they had starting at the time didn't play a great game, yada, yada, yada. But Texas played a great game, which is why they're in number 3. And this is why I keep them in the top 4. It's because they beat Bama. If you're going to have Bama in there, you got to have Texas in there.
Texas benefited from just the way things aligned. When you align these massive, out-of-conference games at the beginning of the year, you're risking a lot. You're risking everything because if you lose like Bama did, odds are in any given year you're out. Because if you lose one more game, you out of the conversation altogether, and that loss might get held against you. And, fortunately for Bama in particular, they didn't. But Texas benefited from winning a bigger game than the game that they lost. They get the benefit of the doubt because the game they lost was a rivalry game where things just aren't weighted the same. And it also was in the middle of the season where, hey, the rest of the Big 12 conference ended up playing pretty well and got a decent level of respect. So it's not like they lost to a scrub. But I think the real thing that both Texas and Bama benefited from is the fact that the committee just wasn't standing on business with Florida State. And in that, I mean, if in the criteria this whole time was the notion that a player being hurt or a coach not being there could bump you out of the rankings and they could consider that, then the moment Travis went down, they needed to be out. They needed to be 6, 7, 8 because you knew no matter what happened, you were not going to realistically consider them for that number 3, 4 spot the whole time. So stand on business, boot them boys out, say, hey, Bama and Texas are next in line no matter what happens. Either Georgia or Bama was going to be in. That was basically inevitable. And they knew that the whole time. And the argument isn't that this isn't best for the business of college football and this isn't the most profitable game. And not even that these aren't potentially the best teams. It's just what was supposed to happen. Because like I said, at the end of the day, if we're not going to wait playing the games, then don't play them. Don't play them. Just skip to the end.
For sure.
But the reality of it is, on any given Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I don't care where we line up, the field, the parking lot, David versus Goliath. I got a chance when I step on the field.
Let's say Florida State, right, undefeated, they should get in at the 3rd spot. So now you take out of those 3 teams, out of Bama, Georgia, and Texas, how does that shape out? Does it only shape out just because Bama beat Georgia and Texas beat Bama earlier in the year, or do you guys think like there is a conversation there where we could try and pick between out of those 3 teams who's the best team that deserved that 4th spot?
Like you could pick. I mean, Texas beat Bama head to head. I mean, they all got one loss. They're all solid football teams. I mean, as long as you don't got Bama in there, you can't just say Texas automatically goes in there. I mean, I don't know how y'all feel about it.
I mean, I think it's just like we talked about the way Texas beat Bama, Bama beat Georgia. Obviously, Texas and Georgia ain't played. By default, Alabama's conference champion, Texas' conference championship. Texas got the tiebreaker over Bama. I mean,
but do you not take in consideration that Georgia has been the number 1 team for so long? So and that's my thing with this whole thing. Like,
shouldn't be no
obviously it's a Power 5, so one team has to be left out of the conference, right?
For sure.
But that Georgia win that Bama win over Georgia is big. Like, you're not you get what I'm saying? Like, you're not just beating an Oklahoma State. You're not just beating a Louisville. You're literally beating and I know you can't take past stuff into seasons, but you're beating a team that's won 20, I think it was 29 games in a row. They were on they were on a win streak for 2.5 years. beating them and knocking them out the playoffs is a huge win. So I just think it's too hard to not put that in consideration of a team that has been a juggernaut, right? Like for the past 2 years, obviously we know teams change, you lose guys, you get guys, X, Y, and Z, guys move on to the NFL, but we're talking about a powerhouse juggernaut that we honestly, watching them for the past 2 years, it was like, bro, I don't really see nobody beating them. You get what I'm saying? Like they have really been on top of college football and have become, quote unquote, the Alabama and the Clemson of, the past, couple years. So that's why I think that win for Bama is so big, and that they had to put them people in. They had to.
Yeah, for me, it's almost like you might as well not rank teams until like 4 games into the year, figure it out from that point, because obviously if you rank number one at the beginning of the year, you win all your games, you already at an advantage based off what y'all did last year, when last year don't matter, when plenty of dudes going to the NFL. You might have new coaches, new position coach, like all that, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. All that factors in. Like, I don't know. There's no like right answer to it all. And like I said, I know that Georgia is a good football team. Like, they could be in this playoff as well. Like I said, there's a couple other teams that could be in here and very well win the championship. I just don't know how you sort it out. I think obviously the 12-team playoff will help situate a lot of that. But I feel like the preseason rankings, I feel like it almost screws some teams over in a sense.
Well, and then on top of it, too, as well, I mean, let's get over to the 2 other teams that made the Final Four, too, as well. Let's talk a little Michigan and let's talk a little Washington. I want to start with Michigan just for right now. Ike, man, if you want to jump us off first on this one. You guys also have Michigan as the number 1 seed, and we've been pumping up all these other teams about why they deserve to be in, or other teams about why they aren't in and they deserve to be in. Ike, are you still cool with Michigan being number 1? Do they deserve the title? They're plus 175 right now to win the national title. Talk about, do they deserve it?
Yeah, I would say like there's a hierarchy in college football. You got your Power 5, but then there's really like depending on the year, there's a Power 2. There's the 2 top conferences out of those 5 conferences. So like if you're an undefeated Big Ten team or you're an undefeated SEC team, you're gonna be the number 1 team more than likely in the college football playoff or whatever championship system that they have. So I would say Michigan has won every single game, and they in the Big Ten. They playing good teams every single week. There's no debate whether or not, their strength of schedule. Like, nah, you playing heavy hitters every week. So I say Michigan deserves it. And if they wet the bed in the playoffs, so be it. But I personally think that this would be the year that Michigan really has a chance. If they can get past them Bama boys, this would be the chance that when they play Bama, that's going to be the game that really decided. Because if they beat Bama, then I feel like they could win the championship. But if they don't beat Bama, then it is what it is.
Trey, hop in on Michigan as the number 1. Let's talk a little Big Ten just really quick, repping the number 1 seed out of this Final Four.
I think the Big Ten East is a perennial top level division within football. It's as strong as the SEC West in any given year. I mean, we know how it goes. It's Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. Who's going to win out of those 3? And I mean, you want to talk about shout out to Turks. But man, I mean,
hey,
we folded. But in the last 3 years, you talk about the history of Georgia as of late. I mean, Michigan has run the Big Ten East, and they continue to do so. There's been no major letdown. There really wasn't a scare. I mean, you can't call close games against top 10 Penn State, top 10, Ohio State. You can't call those scares. Those are close games that, are big-time games, and they keep prevailing. They went 6+ quarters without their quarterback having a touchdown pass, went 32 plays running the ball straight, and still dominated. If nothing else, that says that they have a way to dominate anybody. So,
yeah, so hopping in this, Warren, hopping on this, James as well. I'm just going to read it off really quick. We got Michigan at plus 175 to win the national title. Bama jumps up to plus 200. Texas at plus 275, and then Washington at 7-1. I'm just kind of curious. Washington's the only one. I mean, Washington and Michigan, they haven't moved. They've been there for a while. Warren, Washington plus 700. Are you buying that, or do you kind of like those odds? You think that they can compete?
I think they might be doing that. I think they might be doing that based off of like Pac-12 previous history, just because every Pac-12 that's been in the top 4 has gotten smoked. No lie, but. I mean, I think Washington has a chance. Obviously, they showed, that they can play on the defensive side of the ball. That's the big question every year for a Pac-12 team is what are they going to do on defense? So, I mean, I do think they have a chance. They can put up a lot of points, as long as they don't get, stopped. Texas does have a really good defense. They got some great playmakers. I do think, if Texas, slows them down and they're able to put up points of their own, Texas might have it, but you don't want to count anybody out. Like Tre was saying, on any given Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever it is, teams get up to play big games, and this is their opportunity to, put Washington, not back on the map in a sense, but bring a national title to the Pac-12. So this is their opportunity.
James, hop in on this conversation right here. Plus 700 for Washington. They've been there all season long. Why do you think those odds are the way they are? And do you think they got a shot?
I don't know why those odds are the way they are. I know they can light up a scoreboard. I just think defensively, I think it's a little bit of a problem for me, especially going up against Texas. Texas, they can air it out too. They can run the football. I think it's going to be challenging. I think Texas defense is better, although they are skeptical as well. But like I said, Washington's a dangerous football team. Michael Penix and that receiver core, they're a hard matchup for anybody. I don't care. None of these four teams, any team across the nation, they're going to stress the field, go for it on fourth down, all that. So I think maybe that's why it's plus 700, all that for Washington, just the way they can score points.
Yeah, and so hop in on this too as well. Let's just pretend for a second that Washington gets past Texas. Talk about Washington offensively versus maybe the defense of Alabama or Michigan, whoever they would get for the national title. Do you think they got enough?
Oh, yeah. On the offensive side of the ball, 100%. Like I said, Penix and that receiver core all year have been able to light up the scoreboard. I kind of think the college football committee kind of set it up a certain way to get that high-powered game on offense with Texas and Washington, and then, the storyline on the other side between, Harbaugh and everything Michigan has gone through, and then, again, with Coach Saban and everything that comes with him and, that Alabama team. So I think the playoffs is going to be real, real interesting. I think the committee in the world wants Alabama and Texas, kind of like how it was, not a couple years, probably like 10 years ago. When Saban, I think, won his first national championship back at Alabama and the Rose Bowl. So it's going to be real, real interesting to see, man. I think Penix and, Washington really has a legit chance against Texas because, like James just said not too long ago, Texas on defense is always skeptical, right? You might get a Texas where they out there, they hit sticking everybody, they attacking the ball, they catching interceptions, or you might get a game where they give up 40 points. So it's going to be real interesting to see, and I'm excited for the playoffs.
Yeah, we got weeks to go before the games are played, but I think it's time. Who are the early favorites in the clubhouse? Tre, do you want to go first? Who do you have right now to win the national title?
To be honest, right now, the safe bet is Michigan, in my opinion. I feel like they match up as well against Bama as anybody. Bama gave up 20-plus points in 8 of their games already this season. Michigan can score points, and I really don't fear Bama's defense like that. They're not the Bama defense of old. Washington's offense is high-powered, but who knows what their defense is going to give you. I think that'll be a really exciting game, them versus Texas, but I don't see either one of them being able to be as well-rounded as Michigan is right now.
Warren, who you got? Who's going to win the national title?
You know what? I'm going to go with Michigan. I'm a little biased because I'm a Big Ten guy, but also at the same time, I mean, they are very well-rounded. When they come and bring that A game, they're really hard to beat. I do think they match up very well with Alabama. Alabama has, been, they had the ups and downs throughout the season. Still a good team in Alabama, but I don't think they're the Alabama of old. And I think Michigan's got a really good chance. Truth be told, I think they actually end up playing Washington in the national championship. I think Washington has what it takes to outpace Texas. I do think their defense is good enough to get a couple stops. Do I think they're going to stop Texas every drive? No, definitely not. I definitely think Texas is going to put up points, but I think that game's going to be a shootout for sure. And then Michigan ends up beating Washington, ends up holding them on defense, holding Washington's offense, and ends up winning. It's going to be a close game because Washington can't score, but definitely think Michigan pulls it out.
Ike, who you got? Who's going to win?
I got Michigan because them boys, they putting that email out. Go ahead and get their plays.
They got
We want to know
stuff
everything.
already.
They're
going deep in the Rolodex. Yeah, literally. I got Michigan. I think them boys, they coming prepared both on and off the field, so they're going to get that dub for sure. They're going to put that trophy up finally.
We got 3 Michigans. James, who do you got? Who's gonna go all the way?
Well, I'm going with Texas. I just think they're a wild card, man. They beat Bama. They're going to come into this this playoff confident, man. Xavier Worthy, AD Mitchell, receiver Ewers. I think they're gonna light it up during the play. As long as their defense could show up against, if they get matched up against a team like Michigan, I just hope they be able to hold up in the trenches, because we know Michigan can play bully ball. If you can't stop their run, it's gonna be a long day for you. I just like Texas. I don't know. They ain't been in this thing in a minute, so I feel like they should be chomping at the bit.
Soj, bring us home, man. We got 3 Michigans. We got 1.
I know who you rolling with.
Texas.
Is
it
I
Bama?
know who I'm rolling with, man. I'm going Bama. But I look at all the points that you guys bring up, and my thing with Michigan has been, as these last couple games, they've been relying very, very heavily on that run game. And that's going to be my determining factor if they're able to get past Bama. If I was Bama, I would make JJ beat me with his arm, and not saying that he can't, but just as of now between Ohio State and then if you look at that Big Ten championship game, right? If Iowa remotely had any kind of offense, right, we're looking at maybe a more competitive and closer game. So I think we get Bama and Texas in a rematch in the national championship, which is going to be in Houston. So that's going to be pretty crazy. But I'm gonna go Bama.
I want you guys to tell me who you think the best quarterback is left of these 4. As a Bears fan, I'm dying to know. But Warren, go first.
Best quarterback? Oh, I got to go Michael Penix.
Yeah.
I got to go with Penix. He's fire. I mean, he can run. That boy can paint your back porch, walk your dog, and he can pass. Yeah, that boy nice.
Trey, best quarterback of the 4 remaining teams.
That's easy. That's my dog, Michael Penix, from the crib, Tampa, Florida. Went to the same high school. So, he probably slipped out of being able to get the Heisman. I think Jaden pulled away just in terms of his performances at the end of the season, but Michael's the only one left of the 4 remaining teams that's a Heisman finalist, and that's for a good reason. Dude is different, so he's far and away the best out of these 4.
Ike, who you got?
Yeah, I got MP as well. I think by far, few and far between have done what he has done, and he's having a prolific season too. So I got him for sure. Soj,
then James, best quarterback remaining of the 4 college playoff football team.
100% MP. Just what he's been able to do in his story, man. But I paid attention to, but just figuring everything out these past couple weeks, just with him bouncing back from the injuries, and then just him being able to have the season that he has had. I actually got him winning the Heisman, so I hope he gets it. I hope he deserves it. He put his team in a position to be where they are now, which is in the college football playoffs, and I think he's well deserving of it.
James, bring it home.
I know Penix got the stats. Most dangerous quarterback, Jalen Milroe. That's the
tell him.
Okay.
Hey,
I'm just telling you
I thought
right
Bruce
now.
was gonna say it.
I'm just telling you right now, he is the X factor of all of these playoffs, because what he could do running the ball, and if he is on throwing the football, they probably gonna be the hardest team to stop, because you can see Georgia put 2 spies on that dude. When we seen 2 spies on the quarterback?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So that's
crazy.
That's the type of respect that he garners. So that's how dangerous that dude is. So if he's on, he's on, but like I said, he could be off too. So that's a big question mark.
Hey James, I tweeted that during the game. I'm like, bro, I never seen that before. The boys got 2 spies.
Unusual.
You can only do that in Madden.
That's a great call, James. And honestly, I love all the other answers on Penix, because I'm kind of giving the edge to Penix myself, which is why I'm looking at Washington at plus 700. I don't know if this is the NFL guy in me, but at some point, quarterback's going to have to make some plays. And if you have the best one of the Final 4, it's going to give you a great shot. So why are you plus 700? I'm just saying. We're here with the CFP Mega Show here up Beyond the Big Ten with Camp Randall Platoon Podcast and also Testudos and Touchdowns Podcast. We're going to talk a little Big Ten here, have some fun, and then get out of here. So each team is going to ask the other team one question about their season, or if they want to ask something about their careers, go for it. But Maryland, Ike, I think you got one lined up here. I want you to deliver a question. What, on the Maryland side of the football, what question do you have for the Badgers this year?
Yeah, I was going to ask y'all what happened to y'all boys this season. What was the reason that your season didn't end up the way that you might have expected? What was the reason, or it could be a multitude of reasons. I'd love to hear it.
Obviously, getting a new coach and a new scheme this season, it's not something that's easy to deal with. So I think that's one of the things. But you hear a lot of it, like guys not buying into the program. You know, I've talked about it all season. Like, I put a lot of it on the players, man. Like, regardless of who your coach is and, you know, the scheme that you have, like, you got to have some buy-in. You got to put in the effort, because a lot of those games that we played this year, you know, I truthfully think it was a little, you know, I don't want to say the guys weren't giving it they all, but I think, you know, it was a lack of effort in some games, you know, like, you got to be able to find a next level. And I just didn't think we were finding that. Like, we couldn't, you know, tap into a different dimension of the offense. You know, we were getting ran on, you know, heavily on defense. Like, we were giving up teams, like, especially the last 6 games, I mean, like 100 yards a game. So I just think it was a little bit of guys just not buying into what, you know, coaches were bringing. And not saying that the coaches weren't at fault either, but I just think that's a little bit of both.
Yeah, kind of piggyback off what Warren said. Just bringing in, you know, new coaches, new philosophies. You know, they brought in a whole new defense, whole new offense, right? I know all you guys that have played against Wisconsin or you know, just watch this. Y'all used to, you know, smash mouth ball, and then here it is. We brought in an air raid offense, and it just wasn't what we thought it was going to be, and as effective as we thought it was going to be. So I just think it's just a product of just having a first year coach. I think next year, and you know, as the years goes on with Coach Fickell, I do think we do get better as he continues to bring his guys in that fits that defensive scheme and that offensive scheme, and we'll continue to get better. But it's a mixture of things, but I'm going to just leave it at that.
Yep. I think I'm an offensive player, so I'm gonna put most of the blame on the offense. I feel like we had an identity crisis. We couldn't figure out what we wanted to do offensively. Receivers couldn't get open. Quarterback couldn't find the receivers. If he did throw it to him, it'd be a drop. Miscommunication. That's just what it was all year long. Just slow start after slow start, playing from behind. I feel like guys just weren't competing. I'm sure you guys feel like Maryland had a certain culture. For us at Wisconsin, I feel like our culture, we may not be the most talented, but we're going to go out there and compete. I just felt like that wasn't there this entire season. The last 2 games, when they're fighting for a bowl game, I felt like it was there. For the most part of the season, I felt like it wasn't there. And I think, you know, as the year had gone on, I feel like guys, you know, started to figure it out. It just wasn't there for me all year long. And a big part of that for me was the offense. Like, in some games, we ran for over 200 yards, and that's like a big part of Wisconsin football. But still, we throwing the ball for like 150 yards a game, 50% completion percentage. That wasn't good enough.
One thing that we talk about is just those memories of us being out on the field. What's a stadium in the Big Ten or even just all over in college football that you went to, and that's always like, you know, embedded in your brains as just been a memory and being out there on the field?
For me, it was Michigan State, low key, because they go hard. Like, the Michigan State fans, they bleed green crazy. So like, when we went out there, I forgot what year it was, but like, it was a mini blizzard that started coming down, and it was freezing cold outside. And I just look in the stands and I see the fans like like they hyped up type deal. We on the sideline freezing, and they like, oh yeah, we got him now.
Yeah,
that was a rough one.
Hey, yo.
So I said that was one of my more prolific memories in college football. What about you, Trey?
Yeah, you know, I think my answer is going to be a little bit different. Like, you know, the Big House is cool. It ain't all that. Beaver Stadium is cool. It ain't all that. The shoe, I wasn't impressed. To be honest, one that's unique and different, and them folks do not play, go out there to Kinnick in Iowa, bro. They do not play around out in Iowa. And every time we played there, I was at Illinois first, so I played there, I think, 3 out of my 5 years. Bro, I know y'all know how close that sideline is to the bench and then the wall. Bro, we down there making adjustments, and the fans tapping you in the shoulder. Hey, Watson, you didn't run that play correctly. I'm like, bro, if y'all don't get out of my dang huddle, bro. So every time we played there, the games were live, and them folks weren't playing no games. And I think I lost every time I was there. My teams kept folding, but it was just a fun place to play, bro. Like, it's not even like it's that many people. It's only like 50, 60,000. But then they got the Wave. Like, the Wave is really cool being a part of that. So it was just a unique place to play. And my teams was sucking, but I was balling there too. So I had a good time. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
One more question for y'all. I know, coming to the year, I'm sure y'all were hyped. I was hyped for Maryland. I thought y'all supposed to be in that mix for the West. Y'all start 5-0. And y'all just going, like a 3-4 game skid. So like, what was y'all emotions like through that, kind of up and down? Y'all 5 game skid.
We was just like, come on, bro. Like, they was losing themselves the games. I even told Trey this. It was like the Maryland was playing like Sour Patch Kids. First they was sour, then they sweet, then they gone. Like, every game, it's just like, bro, we got all the pieces to really run the table type deal. And then you got you got some off the field stuff. You got like our offensive coordinator, he got a DUI. So there was that. And then it just overall, the season was like, it was real disappointing. We had some accolades that were acknowledgeable, but like, they really dropped the ball. This was the one season where we had every single piece that we needed to really run the table on our side of the conference, but we ain't really do that. So now we're gonna play Auburn and Nashville. So that's just what it is.
It was live by Talia, die by Talia, bro. Most prolific quarterback statistically in the history of our conference, right? And that's no slouch. But it was just, you ain't know what you was going to get. You up 10, about to be up 13 on O State, fold. Every other time, you get in a position where you feel like, all right, this is finally going to be the game. We're going to turn the table. I know all y'all had that game like, hey, this finally the one. We're going to win it. And y'all was at Wisconsin. I played against y'all. Y'all won them games at times. 2023 Maryland, we just weren't going to win them. Every single time, bro. So it just is what it is. It just is what it is, man.
Not even one.
Yeah, like the State Farm commercial? You almost had it. You got to be quicker than that. We ain't quick enough, bro. We just really not. So
you're both eligible though. You're both eligible.
That's all. Eligible. 3 in a row. So we'll take that for now.
From my perspective, because I got a chance to follow both teams, I've been producing for both these pods this year. I think honestly, for both your guys' programs, like the one thing that really went wrong for you guys was that you should have never put Northwestern on your schedule. Oh my God! Watch out!
That's disrespectful.
That's crazy.
That's disrespectful.
Hey Trey, 100%, because Northwestern for years have been garbage and They have one good little year, and now we got people talking crazy.
$98 million into a stadium, and now you're different.
98 million for 9,000 fans. I can't wait. We got to get out of. We got to get out of here on this final topic here. We got a fan submitted question here. And I think this one's really great. I want to get everyone to weigh in on this one. You guys have as much fun with it as you possibly can. But the fan mailbag question was, if you created an all-star team from this year's Badgers team and this year's Terps team, you put them together on one squad, do they beat Michigan? Warren, you go first.
Smoking that Michigan pack, boy. Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, no, seriously, it's gonna be close. I ain't gonna lie, Michigan's good. Michigan is really good this year. But I think if you put our all stars together, like we talked about, we're gonna have a dangerous backfield. We got, no offense to our quarterbacks, but Talia Tagovailoa, tossing that thing. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have boys on the outside. Defense is gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. Michigan might run the ball.
That's all we need. That's all we need.
But I think we win. But I think the All-Star team wins.
I'm gonna say we lose. I'm sorry. I think just defensively up front, that's the problem. That's what Michigan gonna see that, and they go attack it. Like we saw them do it against Penn State. Just ran the ball the entire second half. And I know for Wisconsin that was a big problem for us. I know at times for y'all and Maryland that was an issue stopping the run. So I just say it'd be a good game, but in the end, I feel like they're just running up and down the field.
Yeah, I'm gonna go same answer, and it's all just because of Michigan's run game. I think both of our teams we've struggled to stop the run, and that's what Michigan is leaning on. Like those big games that they won this past year, they literally the last whole quarter against Ohio State ran the football. Penn State, same thing, and then even in the Big Ten championship, they ran the ball. So if you don't got the guys up front to handle that run, it's gonna be a long day.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I couldn't even say who's going to win or lose that, John. I just know the defense is going to be burning some calories because both of those offenses going to be putting up some points, literally. I can't even tell you who's going to win or lose that one.
The one thing I was going to say is, one thing I know about Wisconsin, boys going to have an O-line. I don't care what y'all record is, what everything else. If we have y'all O-line and y'all blocking for Talia and we got Braylon and we got Hemby and we got most of our receivers, no disrespect to y'all receivers, hey, maybe we score 50 and they score 40 because that's our best hope. Defense, I don't know what's going to happen like y'all said, but That offense would be something serious.
Iowa's defense plus an all-star team
scraping
of Terps and Badgers on offense versus Michigan.
I mean, you could just take Maryland offense and Iowa defense, and they probably win.
Can we at least get Braylon? Can we at least get Braylon?
I need Braylon.
They running back straight. Braylon. Him be good. He's straight.
Yeah, him be fine.
Oh, he good, but you need a 1-2 punch.
I mean, we can take Braylon too.
Y'all
saying.
Y'all think Tua, bro? Y'all think he clearing it?
Got to. I feel like
I seen.
He gonna get
stuff now. I don't know. You know, it's Twitter. That's all.
Yeah.
But coming out.
He gonna get an opportunity just because of who he is.
For sure.
He came from Bama. He's gonna get an opportunity for sure. So it's gonna be a head coach or a GM that's like we can like coach these mistakes out of him type deal, and then the rest is left for him to decide what type of quarterback he want to be in the NFL. So he'll always be straight.
Yeah, this is some turnovers with him, boy. He gonna eat the turnovers.
Man,
he gonna take some risks.
He can't be doing backflips in the NFL. That's not it. All that whining and twisting and whining, no sir.
So like, ain't gonna lie. Hey, y'all got any transfers leaving? Because we got a lot of transfers in the portal.
Bro, we losing some guys.
Portal boy.
Like, we losing our best linebacker. We losing our best tight end. Portal, yeah. So hopefully Locks can pull some guys in though. So we're gonna definitely have some guys coming in.
Yeah, Deitch is leaving.
Dang.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we might have to write him. Wisconsin.
Yo, chill out.
Hey, y'all. Hey, you see we had that Syracuse. We had that Syracuse outside backer commit
he played us,
and decommit the same day.
Man, that's cool.
And that boy went and tweeted.
And that boy went and tweeted
and said he got to do what's best for him.
That boy
Did y'all see?
That's what I'm saying. Like, these teams be stingy with the NIL. The NIL money, they be stingy. It's like, if you're not getting the money from Maryland, it's like I can go somewhere else, go to an SEC team and really get the money. I don't want no car. I don't want my rent. I want a bag, some shit like that.
The dude that he working with, supposedly, I saw a bunch of Wisconsin people talking about him on Twitter. He not even like a certified agent type dude. They like
that's what's happening.
If you got if you see somebody that says it's just NCAA certified. It's like NCAA certified in his Twitter bio. So if you see anybody with that and they little Twitter bio, it's a red flag. So he probably ain't even actually is. So I don't know. Who knows who Buddy is? Scamming him.
Oh, it's you think
a lot of them kids. Yeah, a lot of them kids already done got, bro. That warning too late. They done got locked into some type of contract.
Yeah, signing their NFL money away already.
Yeah.
What's it at? Jarvis Dexter?
Taking a shot at my Bears. How dare you? But see, that's what's interesting. Not just about college football, the bowl season that we're going to go through, but now with the portal era leading into the recruiting class into spring practice. I mean, there's a bevy. There's a limitless amount of topics to talk about, and that's what makes it fun. And I don't know, and these guys are going to get paid, so good for them. This is going to do it for us, guys. I think we're going to get out of here. This is the College Football Playoff Mega Reaction Show right here at Beyond the Big Ten. Thank you so much for checking us out here on YouTube or listening to us wherever you get your podcasts. I want to thank the Camp Randall Platoon podcast, Sojourn Shelton, Warren Herring, James White, and I want to thank the Testudos and Touchdowns podcast, Tre Watson, and Ikechukwu Ogwuegbu. Thank you so much for coming on, man. This was a great show, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Follow us at Beyond the Big Ten, wherever you get your socials on IG and Twitter. I'm Joey Christopolus. We'll be back soon with some more off-season talk, college football, so make sure you tune in. Until then, be well, be safe, please be good to each other. Happy holidays, and we're out of here.